I don't know anything about the meme coin thing. I don't know. I can just tell you that, I mean, President Trump has had nothing to hide. He's very upfront about it. I've been a little busy on reconciliations. I'm not following all the twists and turns of the Qatar jet. I've certainly heard about it. Well, look, I don't know anything about the dinner. I was a little busy this past week, as you know, getting the reconciliation package over the line. And so I'm not going to comment on something I haven't even heard about. I'm not sure who was there or what the purpose was. But as Kash said in the vignette earlier, he's FBI. That's not my lane. I don't know.
This is absolutely devastating for Kash Patel. And I mean devastating in a way that could end his career, his freedom, and possibly expose the entire corrupt operation he's been running inside the FBI. Because what we're watching unfold right now isn't just another political scandal that fades after a news cycle. This is a sitting FBI director getting cornered from every possible direction. Congressional hearings where he's getting destroyed. Lawsuits from people he fired that are exposing his political purge, contempt threats that could literally result in his arrest. And through all of this, Patel keeps making the same fatal mistake. He keeps saying, "I don't know," over and over and over, about everything, and those two words might be what brings him down. But real quick, if you want to stay ahead of the headlines, please subscribe, because you might think you are but aren't. Your subscription actually matters here. That's why we built Patrick Smith Show, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. So Kash Patel is FBI director. That's supposed to be one of the most powerful, most informed positions in the entire federal government. The person who runs the FBI is supposed to know everything happening inside that agency. Every major investigation, every significant decision, every personnel change. That's literally the job. But when Patel gets dragged before Congress, when he's forced to answer questions under oath about what's happening on his watch, his answer to almost everything is the same. "I don't know. I haven't seen that. I didn't hear about it. I was too busy. I can't comment." Share this video with everyone you know, because this isn't just bad optics. This is either perjury or incompetence on a scale that's hard to comprehend. Because either Patel really doesn't know what's happening at the FBI he's supposed to be running, which means he's completely incompetent and unfit for the job, or he does know, and he's lying under oath about it, which is a federal crime called perjury. Either way, he's in serious trouble, and lawmakers are starting to figure out that those "I don't know" answers might be the thread they can pull to unravel everything. Let me walk you through what's been happening, because the pattern is impossible to ignore once you see it. Patel gets asked about the Charlie Kirk assassination case, about why he falsely claimed they had a suspect in custody when the real shooter was still at large. And Patel says he doesn't know the details, doesn't remember exactly what happened, can't comment on specifics, for a case that was one of the highest profile investigations in the country, a case where he personally went on social media to make public statements, and now he doesn't know? Make sure you're subscribed to Patrick Smith Show, because it gets worse. Lawmakers ask him about the political purge allegations, about firing senior FBI officials who worked on Trump investigations, about lawsuits claiming he demanded loyalty to Trump over loyalty to the law. And Patel says he doesn't know those people, never heard of them, can't comment on personnel matters, even though he's the one who made the decisions to fire them, even though there are documents with his signature on them, even though witnesses say he personally told people their jobs depended on whether they'd fire agents who investigated Trump. Then there's the Epstein files. Congress has been demanding them for months, wanting to know who Epstein was connected to, who knew about his crimes, who might have been involved. And Patel keeps stonewalling, keeps claiming he doesn't have the latest developments, hasn't been read in on the details, can't comment because he hasn't reviewed the files personally. The FBI director hasn't reviewed the most requested documents in America, doesn't know what's in files that Congress is threatening contempt charges over. That's his story. Think about what that means for his legal exposure, because every time Patel says, "I don't know," under oath, he's creating evidence that can be used against him. If prosecutors later prove he did know, that he was lying, then every one of those "I don't know" statements becomes a count of perjury. And perjury isn't a minor offense. It's a federal crime. It carries prison time. And it's exactly what Congress is starting to investigate, because they don't believe him anymore. The Charlie Kirk disaster is where this really started falling apart for Patel. Charlie Kirk was a prominent conservative activist, Trump ally, founder of Turning Point USA, and he got assassinated, shot and killed. Massive story, political earthquake, and the pressure to solve it was enormous because this was someone in Trump's inner circle. So Patel, as FBI director, gets personally involved, makes it his business to be out front on this case, and then he goes on social media and announces they've got a suspect in custody. Posts it publicly, media picks it up, everyone thinks the case is solved. Except it wasn't solved. The real shooter was still free, and Patel's claim was completely false. Now maybe that was a miscommunication. Maybe someone gave him bad information. But here's the problem. When Patel gets called before Congress to explain what happened, he can't give a straight answer. Says he doesn't remember exactly what information he had, doesn't know who told him what, can't recall the specifics of why he made that public statement for one of the most important cases in the country that he personally announced. And now he doesn't remember? Share this with everyone because lawmakers aren't buying it. They're looking at Patel's testimony and they're seeing someone who's either catastrophically incompetent or deliberately lying. Because there's no middle ground here. If you're FBI director and you make a false public statement about a major investigation, you better be able to explain how that happened, who gave you the information, what the breakdown was, how you're fixing it. But Patel can't do any of that, just says he doesn't know. And that raises the obvious question. If you don't know what happened in one of the biggest cases of your tenure, what do you know? The political purge allegations are even more damning because there's documentation. Lawsuits filed by former FBI officials. A New Yorker profile laying out the whole operation. Witnesses who say Patel told them directly that their jobs depended on whether they'd fire agents who investigated Trump. This isn't speculation. This is documented evidence of Patel running a loyalty test inside the FBI, removing anyone who might be disloyal to Trump and replacing them with people who'll do whatever they're told. And when Congress asks Patel about this, when they confront him with the allegations and the evidence, he says he doesn't know these people, never heard of them, can't comment on individual personnel decisions. But these aren't random low-level employees. These are senior officials, people who ran major investigations, people Patel personally met with and fired. And he claims he doesn't know who they are, that he never heard of them. That strains credibility past the breaking point. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because the lawsuits are moving forward. The fired officials aren't backing down. They're demanding their jobs back. They're seeking damages, and they're providing evidence, emails, memos, testimony from witnesses who were in the room when Patel made it clear why people were being fired. All of that is going to come out in court. All of those I don't know statements Patel made to Congress are going to be compared against actual evidence. And if they don't match up, Patel's got a perjury problem. Then there's the Epstein files. This is where Patel is facing the most immediate threat because Congress is done waiting. They've been requesting these files for months. They've sent letters. They've held hearings. They've warned Patel that continued obstruction will have consequences. And Patel keeps saying he doesn't have the latest information, hasn't been briefed on the details, can't comment until he knows more. But he's the FBI director. These files are in FBI custody. He has access to them. He could review them anytime he wants. But he claims he hasn't? That's not believable. And Congress knows it. They know Patel is stalling because someone powerful is implicated in those files. Maybe people connected to Trump, maybe Trump himself. And Patel is protecting them by refusing to release documentation that Congress has the legal authority to demand. That's obstruction. That's contempt. And Congress is threatening to make him pay for it. The contempt threats are real, not political theater, not empty warnings, real legal consequences that Patel is about to face if he doesn't start cooperating. Congress can vote to hold him in contempt, criminal contempt that gets referred to DOJ for prosecution, or inherent contempt where the sergeant-at-arms literally arrests Patel and brings him before Congress and holds him until he complies. That hasn't been used in decades, but lawmakers are openly discussing it. They're saying if Patel keeps stonewalling, they'll invoke that power. They'll have him arrested. Think about what that means. The FBI director getting arrested by Congress, dragged before lawmakers, held in detention until he releases the files. That would be a constitutional crisis, a battle between branches of government. But Congress has that authority, and they're threatening to use it because Patel won't stop saying, "I don't know." Now here's where the legal jeopardy gets really serious. Every time Patel testified under oath, every time he said, "I don't know," or "I can't recall," or "I haven't been briefed," he created evidence. Evidence that can be used against him if prosecutors decide to investigate whether he committed perjury. Because if they can prove Patel did know the things he claimed not to know, if they can show he was briefed on details he said he wasn't briefed on, if they can demonstrate he was lying, then each false statement becomes a separate count of perjury. And the evidence exists. There are emails showing Patel was briefed on things he claimed not to know about. There are witnesses who were in meetings where Patel discussed details he later claimed to have no knowledge of. There are documents with his signature approving decisions he said he couldn't comment on. All of that creates a paper trail, a record that contradicts his testimony. And that's exactly what prosecutors need to build a perjury case. Share this video because Patel's defense strategy is falling apart. He thought he could protect himself by claiming ignorance, by saying he didn't know, he wasn't involved, he can't comment. But that strategy only works if you're actually ignorant, if you're actually not involved, if there's actually no evidence contradicting you. But Patel is the FBI director. He's at the top of the organization. Everything flows through him, and the evidence shows he knew about all of it. He was involved in all of it. He made decisions about all of it, and then he went to Congress and lied about it. The dramatizations you see on legal commentary channels aren't fiction. They're based on real legal threats Patel is facing. Videos showing courtroom scenarios where judges warn Patel about contempt, where prosecutors confront him with evidence contradicting his testimony, where he realizes too late that his "I don't know" defense isn't working. Those scenarios are exaggerated for entertainment, but they're grounded in reality because Patel really is facing these threats. And what happens next depends on Congress's willingness to follow through. If they back down, if they let Patel keep stonewalling without consequences, then he escapes. He gets away with the political purge and the Epstein cover-up and lying to Congress. But if they follow through, if they vote for contempt, if they refer him for prosecution, if they invoke inherent contempt and have him arrested, then Patel faces real consequences, criminal charges, possible conviction, prison time. And that sends a message that you can't weaponize the FBI without accountability. The political calculations are shifting. Republicans who might have protected Patel are starting to distance themselves because Patel's problems are becoming their problems. His scandals are reflecting on them. And some are deciding that defending him isn't worth the political cost, that they'd rather cut him loose and save themselves. Democrats are unified in demanding accountability. They want the Epstein files released. They want the political purge investigated. They want Patel held in contempt if he keeps obstructing. And they're building support among some Republicans who are equally frustrated by Patel's stonewalling and his refusal to cooperate with legitimate oversight. The Trump factor complicates everything because Patel's entire position depends on Trump's backing. Trump appointed him. Trump supports him. Trump probably doesn't want the Epstein files released because of his own connections to Epstein. So Patel is caught between Trump's demands and Congress's authority, between protecting Trump and protecting himself. And he's learning that those two things might be mutually exclusive. If Patel releases the files, if he cooperates with Congress, he loses Trump's support. Trump will turn on him, will attack him publicly, will make him a target. But if Patel keeps protecting Trump, keeps stonewalling Congress, he faces contempt charges and possible arrest and prosecution. Either way, Patel loses. That's what being cornered looks like. The lawsuits from fired FBI officials are moving forward regardless of what Congress does. Those are civil proceedings that Patel can't stop. The plaintiffs are demanding discovery. They want emails, documents, testimony from witnesses, all the evidence showing why they were really fired. And when that evidence comes out in court, it's going to contradict everything Patel told Congress. It's going to show he knew exactly why people were being fired, that he was running a political operation, that his "I don't know" testimony was false. Think about what that means for his criminal exposure. Because when civil cases expose lies, he told Congress, prosecutors take notice. They see someone who committed perjury, who lied under oath, who obstructed justice, and they start building criminal cases. Even if DOJ won't prosecute Patel while he's FBI director, once he leaves office, he's vulnerable. Future prosecutors can look at what he did, can review the evidence, can decide to bring charges. The historical precedent matters here because we've seen this before. Officials who thought they were protected by powerful allies, who thought loyalty would shield them from consequences, who lied to Congress thinking they'd get away with it. And then the protection disappeared, the allies moved on, and they were left facing charges alone. Patel is heading down that same path. The I don't know defense is the worst possible strategy because it only works if you're actually uninformed, if you're actually not involved. But when you're the person in charge, when everything goes through you, when there's documentation of your involvement, claiming ignorance just makes you look like a liar. And that's exactly what's happening to Patel. Every time he says, I don't know, lawmakers are thinking either you're incompetent or you're lying. Either way, you're not fit to be FBI director. The pressure is building from multiple directions simultaneously. Congressional hearings getting more aggressive, lawsuits advancing through courts, contempt votes being scheduled, media coverage intensifying. And through it all, Patel keeps making the same mistake, keeps claiming he doesn't know things he obviously knows, keeps digging himself deeper into legal jeopardy. Share this with everyone because we're watching accountability try to catch up with power. We're seeing institutions push back against someone who weaponized his position for political purposes. We're witnessing the slow collapse of someone who thought Trump's backing made him untouchable. And we're learning whether I don't know is a defense or an admission of guilt. What happens next will define whether Trump's inner circle faces consequences, whether the FBI can be reformed after being turned into a political weapon, whether Congress has real power or just makes empty threats, whether justice exists or whether powerful people always escape. Patel is about to find out. The contempt votes are coming, the lawsuits are proceeding, the evidence is mounting, and his I don't know defense is collapsing under the weight of documentation showing he knew everything. This is the moment. This is the test. Either Patel faces real consequences for what he's done, or the system proves it can't hold powerful people accountable. We're about to see which one it is. Stay tuned, because this story is moving fast, and you don't want to miss what happens when the FBI director finally runs out of places to hide.